you're listening to Melanated Rising, this is a bonus episode. Or maybe it's more of a teaser. I'll let you decide. On this show, we inspire, uplift, and ignite Black creatives, all while changing the narratives around Blackness. Every episode is an exploration into what is possible for us and the world when Black creatives stand in our undeniable power. Welcome to the show. My name is Kristen Iris. I am your host. And if you're watching on the video, you are just seeing my shining face without a guest. You might be wondering what's going on, and I'm going to explain it to you. So this show, I launched last July, and I have decided to make some changes. And so this is really actually my first kind of solo episode, but it's going to be a short one. I really just want to come here and let you guys know what some of the changes are, that the show is going to be returning, because if you have been listening before, you know that we took a little bit of a break. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what changes are going to be made and why I took a break and what's coming this year, 2019, for Melanated Rising. Before I get into that, I want to first let you know who I am, especially if you're new. My name is Kristen Iris. I am an artist, I am a coach, and I am a speaker. And in everything that I do, whether it is my art, whether it is my coaching or my speaking, everything I do, my mission is to challenge and break down oppressive power dynamics and systems by inspiring and igniting Black and other POC people into their power and their capacity to create great change in this world. We as melanated folks, as marginalized people in our many intersections we are so incredibly powerful. And even though we have been oppressed and we continue to be systemically oppressed, we have a lot of power, and we are the people who are leading and who need to be leading and creating change in the world, because we are the ones who change the status quo. We are the ones who change the narratives around Blackness, around whatever your intersectionality is, and really reveal more of our humanity to the world so that we can all rise, so that we can experience liberation and joy and a sense of personal power. So I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about the art that I create, the writing I do. I am passionate about coaching and my clients, and really helping people in particular to change the narratives around Blackness, change the stories that they still have really deeply ingrained, even if they don't believe them, and the ways that has shown up in their life, and to change those things so that they can step fully into their art or their business or whatever endeavor it is, and create the social change they want to create in the world. Like I said, we are just so powerful, and I love this work. And I created this show. It launched, it opened last July, first released last July 2018. And I created this to be a space to speak about the issues that affect us, to speak about the things that limit us, and how to turn that into, a foundation and a stepping stone for where we want to go individually and collectively. And there's so many different dynamic ways to have those conversations. Now, previously on this show, I have brought in, primarily it's been Black. That wasn't actually the intention when I started, but that was a lot of who I was connected with. So it's been like Black artists, entrepreneurs, different people who are in different fields, and talked about different things that are impacting us, and having these really in-depth conversations on particular topics. And that is something that is going to continue. But that's what you will have seen. And if you look at previous episodes, you will see that. You'll also see that it was audio and video. Now, when I started the show, I'm so passionate about this show and this being an avenue for creating change and to be able to reach people in a way that is very accessible, because it's free. But I produce this podcast completely by myself. In that I do all of the editing, I do all of the uploading, the promotion, all of that. And it is very, very time consuming. And my poor little laptop is, it's been with me for many years. But when I start editing video, it freezes and it starts to shut down. And so, when I'm doing just one episode, one hour episode, it'll take me anywhere from like 12 to 16 hours. And that's an entire day of the week. Now, I don't know about you, but I personally don't have an extra entire day of the week to be able to maintain a weekly schedule of doing this podcast. And a big part of that is because of the tech, because I'm doing it by myself. I don't have an editor. I don't have someone else like doing the marketing and the promotion, the images and all of that. Like I do all of that myself, but also my poor technology is it's a bit slow. I haven't been able to upgrade yet. And I'm just like one of those days, it's just going to crap out on me. And like my whole computer is going to just go completely. So with the amount of time that it was taking me to do audio and video for this podcast and release everything and do it on my own, and the other things I was doing even right now, I'm reshaping the way that I'm doing my coaching and the programs, designing my programs that I'm going to be offering this year. And I was, even last year, I was wanting to do that. And that was something I also had to pull back from. I had to pull back from coaching. I had to pull back from the podcast. I was doing more creating. I also started working with a film production company, Megamind Media. I love it. I love making movies. Like I want to, I'm really going to be diving more into this year. But with all of those things and all of those projects, this was just too time consuming to produce on my own. And so I took a break from it so that I could kind of get things set and get things organized and figure out exactly where I needed to focus. And as it got to the end of last year, I was really missing this podcast. I was missing this platform. I was missing having these conversations. And when I think about moving forward in my coaching and moving forward with the things that I want to do this year that will have me thrive, like a feeling of thriving. That's my theme this year, is to thrive. And to do that, the podcast, I kept coming back to the podcast. I kept thinking of this platform and how powerful it is to really reach and help so many of you. So I have decided to, come back to the podcast. My decision actually last fall when I took a break was that I was going to take a break until I could hire help. I could hire an assistant to do the editing, to do some of the marketing and promotion and putting some of the images together. And I don't have someone yet. I haven't hired someone. However, this is just such a powerful platform and one that I'm so passionate about. I have decided that I'm coming back to it, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to make some changes so that I can do it in a way that is more feasible for me as a solo podcast producer and not so time consuming that I cannot actually keep up with it. So it's going to be a little bit of an experiment. There might be a little bit of tinkering. And some of the changes that are coming, let me let you know, is that first of all, this podcast is going to shift to being audio only. So if you're watching the video, this is going to be the last one that you're going to see of me on video, at least for now. It'd be great to be able to bring it back one day so that I can keep putting these videos up on my YouTube. I think it's a fantastic way to, just reach different people, but it's not feasible for me as a solo producer. So this is going to be an audio only podcast. It's going to make it easier for me to edit. It's going to make it easier for me to maintain the actual media that is going out there, and it's going to save my poor laptop. The other thing is, last year when I started the podcast, it was really directed towards any people of color, and now as my mission is shifted to specifically focus on Black people, that is for sure where I'm going to be focused with this podcast, is on Black creatives, Black entrepreneurs, Black folks of different intersectionalities, but really it is on the rising and the supporting and inspiration of Black folks. So I will be featuring also Black guests. And in the subject of guests, there's going to be a shift in the format of the show. I am still going to have guest episodes. I love having these conversations with people, but I will also be mixing that with solo episodes. I think that there are so many things that I want to share with you guys myself and topics that I want to dive into, and also be able to give you a little bit of guidance, some tips, to talk you through some things that you might be able to do on your own. And this is a great way to be able to do that. So I don't know quite how long those episodes are going to be. They probably won't be as long as the guest episodes, but I will be weaving in solo episodes where I can give you a little bit more just a little bit of a different flavor. I'm still thinking about there's so many different things that can even come up in a solo episode. I might do some Q&A. I might do a little bit of like sharing a technique or a strategy and guiding you through. I might just do a deep dive on a topic that's affecting us and how it has affected me personally and things that you can do to kind of navigate that. So there's a lot of place for me to play and a lot of place for, you guys to learn and really take some really golden gems out of what's going to come from this podcast, both the guest episodes and my solo episodes. Now, the other thing is to help support me in this podcast because, again, as I said, I am a solo producer and this podcast it's a labor of love. This is not a podcast that is like producing money. And so one thing that I've done is I've created a Patreon page. So you can go to patreon.com/melanatedrising. And that Patreon page is specifically for this podcast. Now, the way Patreon works, if you're not familiar, is it is a platform for creatives like myself. So you'll see a lot of podcasters, also like other educators, just different people who are on there. And it's a way for us to create sort of a membership where people will contribute on a monthly basis to help support the artist, help support whatever their work is. Now, for me, I have put the podcast on Patreon, so you can support me on that platform. Now, the way Patreon typically works is there are different tiers of membership, and it's a monetary amount that you pay. And for each of those monetary amounts, you get, different bonuses. I am running mine a little bit differently so that I'm not adding more workload to this because, as I mentioned, it's challenging and time consuming to produce this podcast. So without putting too much extra on myself, I've created membership tiers, but I am not doing locked content, meaning they're not locked. The content is not locked behind a paywall, or it's not for different tiers. So when you go to my Patreon, you are really choosing to support based off of a financial amount that is feasible for you, that works for you, that feels good for you. I have a couple of different options up there. I have a $2 option, $5, $10, and $20. And it just goes through on a monthly basis. So you contribute whatever feels good for you that will help support me. And this will help support me in being able to produce the podcast. Eventually, I would like to be able to bring someone on or a couple of people on to help me produce the podcast, and the Patreon would help with that as well. Like those contributions that you'll be making will make it more feasible for me to one, do it myself for now, and eventually when I have enough people who are patrons who are supporting the show, I will be able to actually hire someone and bring them on, which means that I will be able to really focus more on bringing you guys different content and bringing in different kinds of people, just expanding it even further. But it's really just going to help it to grow and get bigger and reach more people. Like that's really the point, is I want to reach more people and help more people through this avenue and this platform. So I definitely encourage you, if you have enjoyed the previous episodes of this show, to go to my Patreon at patreon.com/melanatedrising and to support the show. Contribute any amount. Any amount is helpful. And that is, I'm so grateful for anybody who becomes a patron, who supports the show. You can also make a one-time donation if you'd like through my PayPal link is on that page as well. If you have previously listened to the show, thank you so much for listening and for being a support. If you are new for the show, I encourage you to please subscribe. You can subscribe on iTunes or Spotify or wherever it is that you are listening. I am also looking to expand to other platforms, but there is a cost that comes with that. So that Patreon will also help me offset the cost of being able to expand to other platforms so that this is more accessible to more people. But please subscribe, and that will also help to support the show as well. And you will get the latest episodes. I will not be releasing episodes just yet. This is an episode to let you know what is coming, but I will be. My goal is February. I don't have an exact date in February yet, but my goal is to start releasing episodes again in February. So right now I am really just getting things in place, and I'll be reaching out to people and inviting guests onto the show. If there is a particular topic that you are interested in having me discuss or bring someone on to discuss, please let me know in the comments for this post on my Patreon page. Let me know there what it is that you are looking for, what you'd love to hear me talk about, or if there's a person that you'd like me to reach out to. And if you yourself are interested in being a guest on the show, please go to my Patreon page. In that welcome message, there is a link. If you are a guest, there is a link where you can fill out a form and tell me more about yourself and what it is that you'd like to talk about. And if I feel like you're a good fit for the audience, then we will set something up and I'll be able to have you as a guest. So thank you so much for listening to this little bonus teaser episode of Melanated Rising. If you are on the video feed, thank you for watching the video. This is going to be the last one, at least for the foreseeable future. But thank you guys so much for your support. Again, please visit my Patreon page, patreon.com/melanatedrising. And I will see you guys when I start re-releasing episodes.